So both our mics are on there.
Are we live now?
Yeah. We're trying to check if we're live.
Sorry, y'all. Oh, yeah.
So we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Alrighty. Hello, everybody. This is the ChatterBox Podcast from
First episode.
First episode, Lunasun Studios. Go ahead.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah, so the podcast pretty much was Jackie's idea. She wanted to just have kind of a nice chat, maybe something you could put on the background or maybe actively listen. Really up to you. But she really wants to discuss all things art, design, and we figured that this podcast will be kind of cool since we'll have two different perspectives on the issue, me and her. Or not issue, but yeah, just kind of interpretations, ideas, stories. So it'll be a bit educational, a bit entertaining and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like the world that I constantly think about, right? I'm in the art world, while Carlos is not really there, you know, like he's just a regular person. And so it's kind of like bringing him into like my perspective.
Yeah.
And then me thinking about his perspective as an artist that has to think about what people view of them.
Yeah, traditionally, I probably would have never really looked into these subjects. And actually, it was fun because today's subject is Vincent van Gogh.
Yeah, one of my favorite.
And honestly, all I know about him was anything you know from pop culture. But, you know, it's something I wouldn't have probably looked into myself if it wasn't for Jackie. And as we did research and stuff for this episode, I was like, man, this is actually kind of interesting to know. And you could draw some parallels and some cool things we'll talk about a little bit later. But anyways, yeah, this will be... we don't know how often we're going to do these, but we're really excited to share some research, some ideas. And, you know, like Jackie said, she's really introduced me into her art world. I mean, she did. I won't take too much away from her, but, you know, definitely not a world I would have really stepped into myself. But it's actually kind of cool.
No, yeah, I think it's fun in a sense to look inward and outward, you know? And so I think this would give us that.
And yeah, and of course, as our first podcast, you might hear some stumbling. You might see some errors here and there. Please don't be distracted by my big microphone. As we go along, let us know if it sounds bad or horrible. If it sounds good, then we'll keep rocking this way. But anyways, Jackie, tell us about you. Who are you?
So the perspective that I will bring is the perspective of somebody who does art themselves. So I'm a graphic designer, but I also do like classical / paintings, right? So stuff that relates to art. But I also do graphic design, and I look at a lot of graphic design. There's a lot of times where I go to the store, I'm like, oh, hey, look at this packaging, or, you know. So I'm bringing like that perspective into this. And I know you would be different. Yeah,
so just a little bit more context. Jackie is a graduate from St. Edward's University here in Austin. I am not nowhere art. I'm just your regular gamer guy, IT technician. And so it's definitely kind of new to me. I'm more mathematical in a way, more analytical. So, and I have zero artistic skill, although one of Jackie's art professors once told me you don't have to be really good at art to just draw or express yourself. Like there is no, kind of like when in high school or in school you learned there is no such thing as a dumb answer. He kind of told me the same thing. There's no such thing as a bad drawing. That was actually Tuan who told me that, because he had made his own sketchbook, and I thought it looked cool, so I bought it, and I told him I just wanted to buy it just to have his art. He's like, no, you should color. I'm like, oh, I suck at coloring and drawing. And he was like, no, that's not the point. Do what you want to do to it. It's like your canvas, your whatever. Which was actually really exciting. We're reviewing Van Gogh. And again, also just to kind of caveat, of course, for those watching live, thank you so much for tuning in. There will be a recording of this session on Jackie's YouTube channel, Lunasun Studios. For those, like, if you didn't catch it live, you know, it's the weekend, we understand.
You can always
rewatch it. Or for those who want to, you know, are watching it from the recording, thank you for watching after. Leave a comment on the actual video.
Yeah, I decided to do it on YouTube and do it live because first, we have no other way to put this out anywhere. This is like the easiest access. Second, live streaming it allows me to go on for a longer period than what a YouTube video would be like. Because a YouTube video, because I don't have as many subscribers or views or whatever, I only get to put up to 15 minutes.
Like 15 minutes of actual YouTube recording. So
Yeah.
Jackie's scamming the algorithm, I guess you could say. But no, either way, we thank you if you're watching live or if you're watching the post recording. Thank you, and feel free to drop comments at live chat or in the comments at post video. It's just we're trying to build a little community of people who enjoy art or people who are
Interested
or new, or just maybe even just background noise. You're trying to go to sleep, and
clean the house,
just something to listen to that is different. Because I feel like stuff like this is lacking. There's like, I watch a lot of podcasts, but they're all like, with gamers and stuff, or even like sports, and it feels like it gets like repetitive after a while. Not that those things are bad. Those are time and place. But definitely wanted to bring something new. So definitely let us know what do you guys like think post show.
Yeah, and we already planned certain ideas for future stuff, so we're excited for that too. So just we'll keep you all updated.
Yeah, bear with us as we kind of go on, and I'm real excited for some of the future subjects. But I guess moving forward, let's actually dig into Vincent van Gogh here.
I tried to put the slide on the actual what is it, the live, and we're trying to figure out like how to maneuver it, but we also have my iPad so that we can see the images.
Yeah, so we're seeing what you see right now, which is pretty cool. Shout out technology. All right, so I guess let's get into it. Let's you see the slide on the bottom right, or I guess maybe it'll be your bottom right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to like come in here and just like we'll go to the next slide.
Cool. So for those of you who don't know, Vincent van Gogh is an artist. He was born in the Netherlands, so he is Dutch. But a lot of his life, he actually moved around a lot. Most notably, like Paris and then some other town in France as well. All the information that we got in research is not just Wikipedia. The Wikipedia was a small part of it, but majority is from the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. They seem to be the world leader of like Van Gogh paintings, and actually the fun fact, the longest living relative of Van Gogh is like he works for the museum in Amsterdam, so it's like pretty legit.
So it's like a family member.
It's the last remaining Van Gogh, I guess, or maybe not last remaining, but I think there's a few other Van Goghs, but yeah, they all work for the museum out there. I forgot what capacity they work in, but they're like, they work there and they do, and yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was just trying to look him up, I came across the website for this museum, and I was like, as a graphic design person, it's built really nicely, where like you're able to like move through it very easily, very nice. Like you see all of his paintings, it's like categorized by his life and stuff like that too.
It is meticulously researched, presented nicely, and you get to see the majority of his works. But anyways, like we just want to give you a little background on Van Gogh. A lot of you know him as an artist, so we're actually gonna go and Jackie and I picked out 5 different paintings of his or works of his that we wanted to talk about. So bear with us as we kind of go through the slide deck, and Jackie will bring one up and I'll bring one up, and
I think the way I set it up, because I set up the slideshow, is we'll do one person's first, all of them, but we'll go through each picture or painting and like just discuss it and just talk about it. You can put your thoughts in the comments of each painting. You could also look them up. We put some of the titles and we'll name them out. But yeah, so that's how it's set up.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, and I did a lot of research on them, so I'll throw in a few fun facts and stuff like that as we go through. So I guess let's go on to the next thing.
Well, I know we could talk about some of the history. Well, for what I read on the website, was him as an artist. Like his family didn't like that he wanted to be an artist. The only person who actually supported him was like his brother.
Yes, correct. So his father was a priest in a small town. I forgot where exactly, but yeah, his father was a priest, and that's actually what he kind of was trying to get him into.
I
Not
didn't
that,
know that.
yeah. So I guess you say Van Gogh did grow up religious, but his religion, and you'll see from a lot of his pieces, he was very not, he believed in God, but God as nature. Like, and that's why a lot of his stuff
is nature.
it's landscapes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so he believed in God in the terms of not like the church or a little bit of the church maybe. As he just grew up wandering the landscapes, he really really enjoyed that. Also about Van Gogh, same note. He didn't start off as an artist. He blew up, I guess, after his suicide. He actually killed himself. He was struggling with mental illness, or you know, it's so hard to diagnose these things because it was so long ago. You know, medicine wasn't the same, technology evaluations weren't the same, so it's impossible to say.
Because it's like late 1800s.
Yeah, for sure, for the late 1800s. And so, you know, you can't really, the science wasn't there to diagnose him correctly, but a lot going on for sure. But he didn't blow up until after the fact. So, but you're right. So the person actually encouraged it. So Van Gogh, you know, he did like a lot of different jobs. Like he worked with him and his brother in an art gallery as an art dealer. He worked at a bookstore, and he was trying to be a teacher too.
Yeah.
Just because at the end of the day, you know, like a lot of us, you got to
try to survive out here,
make some money.
Yeah.
But he also wasn't poor by any means because his brother was a little more off. Not rich either, but he would support Van Gogh. And I think towards the end, he noticed that Van Gogh, he was struggling a lot because, you know, it's hard to find a fulfilling life when you're not doing something that's fulfilling.
Yeah.
And so he ended up, or his brother ended up sponsoring him to just say like, hey, I got you, paint. And so he would like, I guess they had the hookup with the museum or the art dealer. So Van Gogh would start drawing towards the end. And so you'll actually notice that in a lot of his paintings, it'll say like 1888 or 1887, because that was around the time that he actually decided to like start painting full time while getting a small salary from the art dealership that the brother pretty much managed.
It's crazy how long ago that was, but it's still so relatable. Like that kind of person is still out here, you know?
Yeah, so that's actually what I was kind of alluding to in the beginning of the podcast is like as you researched it, you know, 1880, you think of like powdered wigs and like so long time ago, it's nothing's the same, everything's different. It legit sounds like a lot of struggling artists out there. And in fact, Jackie and I went to an art thing here in Austin. Remember a few months ago, you did one of your pop-up shops.
Oh, the market, yeah.
The markets, and they had an exhibition where they had an artist, and I wish I remembered his name, but the artist was talking about his and please ignore the cats yelling.
Oh yeah.
But he's talking about like the struggling artist, what it means to be a struggling artist, what to do. He's talking about like you know, you kind of have to do like a part-time job. Just to make ends meet. You're not going to live a lavish life. Don't expect to blow up.
Yeah. I feel like that's with everything now. Because even, I mean, this is going sidetracked, but people are trying to make it online, you know? And it's not as easy as one thinks.
And you know what's funny, in fact, is that he wasn't like a world-class painter per se compared to other stuff at that time. But because of a certain revolutionary movement in the art community, they kind of picked up his stuff.
Yeah.
Post-fact.
Yeah.
So, fun fact as well, he died, right? He committed suicide. So then his brother picked up his stuff and was trying to like sell it. But after his death, his brother has become very, very, very ill. Again, unconfirmed what it was. And so the brother died like 2 years later. So now it was actually the brother's wife
trying to
sell his stuff.
That's insane. I mean, they believed in it, right? They believed in him and his work.
Yeah, they were like the only people
to keep pushing.
Yeah, like they travel like wherever his brother went, Van Gogh had to go because again, he was, you know, the brother was the main one providing, and I feel like in a way it kind of sums up a good idea, like artists shouldn't do art because they think they're gonna become famous.
Oh yeah, no.
Or like
I don't think any artist thinks, at least that I know of from other artists. Here is my cat. He might come through the view, but I don't think anybody who goes into art thinks that it's gonna happen. Like, well, at least from my perspective, right? I do it because I really love doing it. Like, it gives me some sort of happiness, I guess, from doing it. It is stressful, but like, I choose to do it because I love to do it, in a sense.
Yeah, I think I still see like YouTube as a form of art, where you see a lot of people. The people who really blow up are the most unique and the
They're
most
creative. Yeah.
they're creative.
You have to be creative. I feel like.
And genuine.
Yeah.
Right. You get a lot of people copycats who chase clout and do this and that, and it's like it speaks like you're just trying too hard. You know, my man's was not even famous until post he died.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's one of those names where you say Van Gogh, even if you know very little or don't even really know Van Gogh, you know you've heard that name in school growing up and stuff like that.
Or, like, you know how they put the shows here? His, like, live... It's, like, all animated. Like, they brought it here in Texas one time.
Yeah, they had in Austin. I think it was either Austin or San Antonio, that Van Gogh experience. I think right now it's in Chicago. Stuff like that.
And I'm like, that's insane. Like, he didn't think it was gonna allude to this.
I think it's just one of those things where it's like it just depends on timing, right? So like, you know, he really had this passion that made him happy. He did it, and he made a lot of it.
And he did a lot, yeah.
I was surprised because I thought, you know, when you think of Van Gogh, you probably think of
the
you know,
certain pieces,
like $10 million, you know, $100 million thing locked up in a vault somewhere, right? And then you're like, oh, there's probably only like a few.
Yeah,
like, that's a lot.
He has a lot. He worked a lot, and we can go through some of the ones. We'll start with yours. I think that's how I have it set up. And you chose 5 of them. One we have in common, so the one in common will be at the end.
Oh, okay.
And we can talk about it.
Okay.
But this is one of the first ones you chose.
Yeah, this one I replaced with a different one only because this one I read a little more history into it. And, you know, that's the crazy thing about history. Like, a lot of the more modern stuff has a lot more backstory to it. So this piece right here is called The Yellow House. It's oil on canvas, drawn in 1888. And the Yellow House, this is one of the homes he lived in with his brother. So again, a lot of his stuff is mostly landscape, but it's one of the few buildings and stuff that he has on there. I don't know if building is considered landscape still or not, but
yes, I mean, yeah, it still is. I think.
So this, I guess let's call it landscape.
It's like an architecture, but it also has, landscape. I don't think there has to be like a specification.
Oh, okay.
Of like what it is.
Right. Well, it's not like a self-portrait or anything. So, no. But this is one of his paintings where the house they grew up in, and of course he got started famous so after he died, and so people. So my first thought was like, oh, okay, so this is a real house. You know, this has got to be like blocked off or like privately owned or maybe even like it's a museum or something, right? Like it has to be, right? That's where he grew up and drew a lot.
Probably not.
No, and during World War II, because of the war in France with Germany, it got bombed. Like a bomb.
It got destroyed?
It got like completely leveled. So, you know, bombs dropped. They weren't necessarily targeting his house or anything. It just happens to be an area that they wanted to get a hold of.
Yeah.
However, if you do go to the actual site in real life, they have like a plaque to commemorate that, hey, this is the location of the Yellow House, which I think is really cool. Like even at other places, like here in Austin, you have like a bunch of like a classic neighborhood, and they call it like historical sites or historical neighborhood, and you're not allowed. Like it's very
to demolish or
to destroy or change without like really strict permission.
Yeah.
Need strict permission. So it's really cool. Of course, you can't like rebuild it and capture the same essence and the same, because there's a history when it comes to like old buildings, and you know personally I'm a more modern guy, but
because considering this is a painting, what do you feel about it?
As far as a painting, like what it grips me, you know, my first idea was like, I feel like I can draw this, right? Like, and that's what actually I felt a lot about his drawings
or his paintings and stuff.
And again, when I was doing my research, he wasn't pro, right? He was just like he liked to draw, and he liked to draw a lot.
And he kept doing it.
And he kept doing it. But again, it's because of that.
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect.
No.
But I think
it's perfect. Because what is perfect? Nothing really.
Or even like, you know, when you see modern art and it's like a splotch of.
It's not a photograph.
It's not a photograph.
It's not a like.
Or even like more modern stuff where it's like very contemporary, where it's like, oh, here's a modern like painting that sold for $10 million, and it's just a dot, or like, you know, something more like whatever. So, and this, I think it has more character for sure. Another thing that's really huge apparently, and I didn't know this, is people often associate Van Gogh with yellow.
Yeah.
And sunflowers.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And I was like, oh, my first picture literally has like a whole bunch of yellow.
A lot of his paintings like has a lot of blues and yellows.
Yeah, blues and yellows. Those were the two colors. However, because people just think of the big paintings like this one and other yellow
Mm.
stuff. He has a lot more paintings where there's grays and blacks and
yeah.
like
There's
he's a
some
lot.
dark ones. There was some floral ones that I had seen that were
Yeah,
very dark, but they were really pretty.
but just like an artist, right? Like, and it was hard. And the reason that there's more of one color is like back in the day, and even still
You
now,
had to make your own color.
it's
And
hard.
then
It's expensive.
outsourcing, yeah.
It's expensive.
Getting paint is expensive. I mean, it's still expensive now, but there is a lot more variations that we can get. But back then, you had to make your own color sometimes because it didn't. Sometimes you had to go get it.
Yeah, like I definitely read that he like, he would try to get like what he could, but at some point if like he had to mix to make some colors and then repeat colors, I mean that's what it was.
Yeah.
But my first thought when I was looking at this, I don't know why. And of course, this is back in the day, right? So it's not gonna be like street lamps anywhere or cars. But I thought of like Mexico.
Oh, because it's all like dirt.
Because it's all dirt.
Yeah.
Not to say that every place in Mexico was like that, but when I was there, like I kind of got this impression like of like the centro, a little bit.
Yeah.
Except obviously more pavement and all more
Yeah.
like sidewalks and stuff. But this is just a house. It's just a yellow house.
Yeah.
And in a way, it kind of reminds me of my childhood. And there's another picture that I'll reach out, but that's kind of my first idea on that one.
Okay, I see it.
What do you see? Because again, me with like my ice, I just see like, for example, right? You see down the middle, you see the strict line between ground and sky, and then
Yeah.
building in the center, which is supposed to draw your attention.
Well, like what stands out to me, which I try to, I guess because I do like his pieces in particular, and you're gonna probably hear this throughout. I love the way he strokes his paintings. Like, it's not just a plain. It's not like just all blue. Like there's some sort of like color added to like the sky, and then the strokes at the bottom. It kind of even looks like oil pastels, but it's a brush. It's a brush and paint. And pastels
I see.
is more like a powder / crayon kind of feel.
If you guys are wondering what Jackie's talking about, if you really zoom in with your eyeballs to the sky area, you can kind of see where like the lines are. Like if you were to go like this, that's kind of like the lines.
Like a crayon, like what you would think a crayon would make, but he's doing it with paint, and I love that. It gives it texture, and I like the different use of different colors, like the mint and the yellow on the trees and stuff like that.
But as an artist, you don't think this is too boring?
Oh,
like,
no. I will. Okay, so what I see is like he took the time to just do a painting where he lived. Like, how many of us do that? We do a lot. Like, we literally look at a place that we have been for hours and hours, and we're like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should like just draw it.
You know what? It kind of reminds me of something a long time ago, right? I went back to my mom's house, and I found my old PC. I booted up my old PC before it like completely died, and I saw old photos on there. But again, I suck at taking pictures. Second, I didn't take many of them. But the few that I was able to see, I was like, brought back so many memories.
Yeah.
But like, and so a lot of my own core memories of my childhood, they're really just in my brain. You know, it'd be kind of nice to
have something physical, like where he painted this place that he was at. And like you said, they may have moved so many times, but he had this to remember it by.
And he didn't have a phone to take pictures. And what I'm kind of jealous of is like, now we have digital cell phones that can easily upload to the cloud, and it's easy to save. Like back in the day, it wasn't easy to save stuff or share stuff, and then you lose stuff, or and even then the better quality stuff that you could take with like your average iPhone, right?
Yeah,
or your
the
average
technology's changed.
Yeah, but like back then it was really hard, especially if you're shooting in the dark. Oh man, it's not good. It's not coming out. So anyways, I wish I would have captured more of like maybe my childhood home or my childhood playground.
Yeah, because this is definitely like capturing just a single moment. Like these people are still, they're where they are.
And you catch it in that light.
Yeah.
That he probably like the way he saw the world at that time.
It was like this.
It was bright. It was happy. Because like it's funny because like you go back to an old place you remembered. As a adult eye, you might see it like it's kind of ugly now, or it's a little run down.
Yeah.
But in your prime, like example, I was playing back in my day, or video games, right? I'm a huge gamer. I loved Mario and 64. There are Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64, and as a kid, it just blew my mind, captured, mesmerized me, and I was like, this is the best game ever made. And I still really like the game, don't get me wrong, but I went back to play as an adult, and I'm like, it's hard to control the camera. This is wonky. Look at all the. It
you
looks
thought it
ugly.
was amazing at that point, at that time.
When I was young, I was like, this is groundbreaking, and it is a groundbreaking game. But like now, as an adult, like you get so used to like just seeing stuff in like really high, like 4K, 1080p, stuff like that. And but anyways, it's really cool. So anyways, I was just kind of jealous of Van Gogh here that he was able to capture it without technology, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So move on to the next one.
And,
okay, why did you choose this one? Because I did not even see. I did not think about it.
Okay, so the first reason it stood out is because a lot of, like we said earlier, a lot of yellows.
Mm-hmm. So this was not that.
This really stood out so if you guys go to the website for the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, you'll see his full catalog.
Yeah.
You'll also see some stuff from some other artists, so make sure you like filter it out to just be Van Gogh.
Just to be his, yeah.
Or definitely look at the other stuff too.
Definitely.
Go back, check out support artists. But this is like, dang, this is really green, so it really stood out to me.
Yeah.
The second thing that stood out to me on this one is, a lot of this stuff is self-portraits, right? And
himself
and landscapes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, this is neither of those things. I mean, the closest thing I can think of it being is still life, I guess. And I don't know if it feels a dead crab, maybe. I don't know. But there was also nothing really sea related either, or ocean. That's like the only thing. And I really like it. But I really liked it because it looks like an attempt to draw something really well drawn out. Like, I was really impressed.
It's very difficult.
Line work.
It would be difficult to paint this.
And the crazy thing, if you like, kind of like Jackie said about brush strokes, now that I'm re-looking at it, it kind of feels like in my brain, if I was that crab being plunged into the ocean, let's say someone captured me and threw me back into the ocean, you see like the bottom.
Way it's like positioned.
That and more like the stroke where like the bottom is so dark, right? So like obviously the lower you go in the water, the darker it is. The higher up in the surface of the water, the lighter it is. So it's just like being thrown in chaos, because like his strokes are so hard at the bottom that I feel like it's like chaos. Like you're breaking something and you're breaking into something. Also, it's just, again, because at first, like I said, like with the Fury's picture, I feel like I could have drawn it. This I don't think I could draw, for sure not. Not even like the emotion. Like I feel like that green and the way that the strokes are, I don't know. It kind of, to me, really pointed at like anger or like frustration or just like kind of just rawness. But again, like I said, he really enjoyed nature, but I never saw him do like animals. So I thought this was interesting.
Yeah, I don't think if I would have like looked at his catalog, this would not be something I would choose, and I don't think I would be able to paint that either.
Like I said, like he wasn't a pro painter, but if you were showing me this as one of those paintings, like,
this was 1887, and when we were making these slides, I was like, it's like happened very close together. Like the years that he was drawing and painting were all like in the span of like 3 years. Yeah.
And in fact, he died in 19. He died in 1890. 1890. This is like 3 years before he died.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that crazy to see something like a timestamp like this is like a few years before you died? But you, in that time, you don't know it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know, but it's very nice to look at. It's very sad. It feels kind of sad.
Because that's why I felt angry or sad, like, like pobre crab, poor Mr. Krabs over here. Like he definitely looks dead, or like
it's on its back, like unable to move. It feels I don't
vulnerable
know.
Position for crabs. Yeah. So I don't know if this was like I wish, because a lot of his stuff, and you'll see that there's notations there. There's a lot more questions than answers. Like what was he thinking in that moment? Why? Because like something I don't.
Yeah, and that's one thing you don't. When it comes to art, it's more of like what was happening, right? What was going on in this person's head, or what it makes you feel. What do you think you would be thinking when creating something like this?
The why. Everyone always wants answers to everything, and I think to some degree mystery is good, because you'll never know why he chose a crab, why green, why upside down, why not more things? Why not anything else
Yeah.
in the picture?
Why is there no like sense of like a foreground and background sense? Because it just feels like one.
It's tough because like at the same time, like whenever we went to for you guys don't know, obviously I said earlier, Jackie graduated from St. Edward's University, and she still goes back there to see other artists present stuff and have critiques and questions, you know. And the cool thing about modern times is you can be there live and ask them, why did you make
Why
that?
are you doing this? They give a presentation of like, this is my work because of, you know,
Like I enjoy X, Y, and Z.
I did this for this reason.
But at the same time, like once they tell you, I'm kind of like, oh, okay. Because sometimes there might be no reason.
No, yeah.
And like
sometimes you just make up a reason.
Sometimes just to sound like you have a good reason, but at the same time, I'm like, oh well, that's boring to know. I guess I would have wished I didn't ask. So it's like it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
it's a double-edged sword.
Sometimes I feel like people like mystery, and that's okay. And so then we go to the next.
So this next one is probably arguably one of the top like 10 Van Gogh
this is one of his famous ones.
Yeah, so this is his room. This is called The Bedroom, 1888. And again, because you'll notice another thing on his slides is that the names are very basic, right? There's no like big mystery behind what it is. It is what it is. It is The Bedroom. I mean, if I feel like if we covered that name and I asked you, what would you title this or what is this? You're like, I don't know, a bedroom, right? As a non-artist, I would just be like, it's a freaking bedroom.
And you said a lot of the reasons was because these were famous after the fact. So usually when you're trying to put things in a museum or whatever, you name them before you put them up, and they have like little placards with their names, what it is about, the times, and whatever.
Yeah, and like we said, his brother's wife was real hustler, and so I guess when she was selling him, she was like, "This is the bedroom," by famous Van Gogh when he was picking up his theme. Anyways, but yeah, that's the first thing I want to point it out. Again,
this is one of the paintings that, from coming from school, right? I did a lot of art. I minored in art, and this is one of the ones that they show you when you are ever talking about perspective.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because as I stare in the middle, I feel like the more you stare into the middle, it feels narrow. Like it feels like it's getting long.
Yeah, and he, like you said, he's not. He tried his best to learn about art and everything, and when we're first learning, it always looks like this. All of our drawings look like this.
Yeah, and I think I think part of it is like kind of like I mentioned, by any means, a modern artist could probably draw their bedroom so realistically, so much more beautifully.
Yeah.
But because I guess he was one of the first ones, whenever you're the first to do anything, it's revolutionary, it's pioneer, right? So you kind of set the stage for everything in the future, right? Like, for example, in sports, right? Because I watch a lot of sports, they're like, oh, back in the day, Joe Montana did this, or maybe Cy Young in baseball. Like, there were amazing pitchers. But the people they were playing against maybe were not so good. They were good, but, they didn't have the equipment. They didn't have all the other effort other people had, right? But because they were the first, they're cemented, right? Even though they may not even stand up to today's standards, they set the way for that. So I think that's what I got. This second thing, I feel like, I've seen this
It feels common.
Like in like children's art books, right? When I was a kid, I feel like I would open a book up and I would be drawn to something like this.
Well, I feel like because, like you just said, people who draw now, or like, for example, me or an artist now, are inspired by people like this. So then we take our like interpretation and include that in our art.
It's just so imperfect.
It's kind of cool to see.
It's kind of cool to see, and like your room is not this bright. Your yellow bed,
it's like you have 2 chairs. Why are there 2 chairs?
Or like, why are the paints hanging this way?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also speaks to the fact that maybe he felt, because 1880, this is 2 years before he died, right? And by this time he already had a lot of like mental problems and stuff like this. Maybe he felt trapped in his little room, right? Like his brother was nice enough to keep you, right? But at the same time, maybe he got the small bedroom,
Well, I know, like...
It feels small.
As an artist, I am drawn to draw or paint the places that I'm in. Because I stare at them for so long. I'm like, okay, I want to capture this room this way,
Yeah.
because things just change. But like you said, it was 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years before he took his life. But either way, like looking at it, still the same idea. Like I'll look back at an old picture. Maybe I'll find an old picture and it's like, oh, that's what that room looked like. I remember it looking something else.
But look at the colors that he uses too, like the green at the bottom where like the floor is. You could tell it was like some sort of wood, but then there's like this green to like show shadows.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
like hard blues,
Hmm.
and then the light blues, the yellow, a lot of yellow.
Yeah, like it's such an imperfect picture, or I guess painting, that I was like, how is this like one of his top paintings of all time? But again, like I said, I think it set the path for perspective, like you said. I think it set the tone, right? Like this is just something, and it was probably very credible for the time, where it was like
Yeah.
the standard at the time was probably something different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, that's why I chose this one.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one.
Well, you know what? I had no idea this one had yellow, but it's also probably what stood out to me because it was a little more dark with the grays, right? Like the
background's
beige.
like yellow, yeah.
And I feel like this didn't fit in. Oh, well, actually, that's what I like. He had a few other skull stuff.
Mhm.
And again, 1887, 3 years before he passed away, was he like foreshadowing something? It almost looks like a cool tattoo that my dad would have, or something, like biker gang. But that's stuff we associate now with skulls. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, it's difficult as an artist because so the thing is, when we go to school for things, we get taught a certain way, right? When it comes to schools, it's always like anatomy. Like you're trying to learn how to draw people. And this was in 1887.
hey, back in the day, they didn't have fake skulls, so where did he get a skull to practice from? No, just kidding.
Well, I mean, they usually have them like in like classes and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But it's one of those things where like the skull, I feel like has really good shadow. It's really drawn like nicely, but then
The
it's
greens
like,
and the reds. And I don't know if you noticed that.
yeah, I'm just noticing them now, I guess you could say, but I just wondering. I'm like, I don't know, like it pulls you in,
Yeah.
kind of like those 3D glasses, except it's red and blue instead of red and green, you know. But looking at it again, it looks like eyeballs, like the red and the green inside the eye socket.
Mm.
It kind of almost looks like a faux eyeball. Like it's weird to look at. And then I'm just wondering, like, why just skull, or why just the yellow around it? What does that mean? Is it glowing? Like,
It could all just be just practice.
and that's the crazy part is like, because as an artist, you have times where you like sit down and you're like, this is an it painting, or there's probably times where you're just sketching.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but now because all his stuff is classical and worth a lot of money, even just a sketch is probably worth like millions of dollars. But back then, he was struggling to get by, and I'm sure the first couple. Imagine being back in the day, maybe your great grandpa was living in France, right? And this lady comes up to you and she's like, "Hey, he's up and coming. Would you like to buy this piece for like 10
And it's
francs?"
a school.
And you're like, 10 cents. So yeah, like here you go.
Yeah, I mean, we, as an artist, we do a lot of sketches, and not everything is able to be sold. Or you're not ever thinking about selling it. You're literally just doing it either to practice something, or you're trying to test colors, or, basically all of it is experimental.
Also, I'm also not by any means trying to say don't buy sketches or don't buy like experimental drawings. Like, go
some people
definitely
like those, so yeah.
support your local artists. And I'm not saying like buy stuff and expect for it to resell it in the future for millions.
No.
Tampoco. But at the same time, you never know who might pop off, right?
Yeah.
So like it'd be just really cool as a collector's thing. Our society really praises collecting things and stuff like that, but usually it's collecting things from already made things, right?
Yeah.
And so people who are like loyal and hold on to things that were like maybe niche, like Pokemon cards, right? People back in the day, like especially I had Pokemon cards when I was young. Never thought those would be worth any money. It was just kid fun, and as a kid you just break them. But people who hold on to stuff is worth a lot of money. You just don't never know.
Thinking about like collectibles and stuff, there are different artists that they sketch, right? They do it on sketchbooks, and there are several I've heard of a store where they collect, or you can sell your sketchbook and then they sell it. So it's like a bookshelf where it's like you pick it out and you can buy it.
Hmm.
And then you have like this sketchbook that's from an artist and it has all their sketches and stuff like that.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a market for that. So there's a market for anything.
Yeah.
People make it. Someone out is on the other end to buying. It's really just finding, and I think that's where he had a huge advantage, where they worked as an art dealer, right, at a museum and stuff. So they had connections and stuff.
Yeah, all of his
It's just
stuff
finding
looked
things.
like he knew somebody and then he was trying to like recreate certain things.
Yeah, I think again, it's just one of those things where, like, as an artist too, especially if you're from maybe a small town or don't have a lot of connections, maybe it's worth like connecting, networking, getting out there, googling stuff, and taking a little risk. But that's enough for my picks. Those were my picks, and then of course our fifth pick is the same.
It's the same, so
we'll
we're
get
gonna
to
wait till the end.
Yeah.
But these are gonna be my picks, and I think mine are gonna be what you would expect because you know me as an artist, and you know what I like, and you know what I like to paint.
Floral, colorful, beautiful.
Yeah. So we'll go to the next one.
Can I preface real quick, before meeting you and dating you and stuff, I was never really into art, obviously, but if I did look at art, I really enjoyed looking at landscape paintings and stuff like that, or even photography, love nature and stuff.
Yeah.
I like it so much.
I know. I know. Recently, we've gone to the museum here in Austin. We've gone to the museum, and you really like the one that looks like Texas, the landscape.
Oh yeah, real
Yeah.
Texas, like Montes and
The
cactus
cows and
and
stuff.
just-
Yeah. I know you love that.
I love all that stuff. And fun fact for everybody who's there or maybe watching it post fact. When I worked at both Wells Fargo and Randolph Brooks Federal Credit Union, obviously there's different paintings around, and whenever I was in the office, I would like definitely stare off into the paintings, and I was thinking like, dang, someone sat here, either took a picture to reference later or drew it then and there, and that because nature changes so much because of just nature
it could
itself,
be gone.
or because of natural causes, right, like erosion and stuff. Yeah, you can go to that exact same spot, maybe even a year later, maybe a month later.
It changes.
It's never gonna be
and
that same.
That's one of the reasons I really love landscapes, because they do change. Yeah, and they even change to the perspective of the painter, right? Because like you said, one year you might be feeling like the best, and so the colors are like all bright maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But then maybe what if the next year you're like
Not feeling good or depressed.
dark, depressed,
So you'll
and
see
then it becomes dark and it becomes different. There are tests where people have like tried to like remake the same painting more than once, and it doesn't come out the same.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm sorry to take away from your first presentation.
Oh well, this is I saw a lot of the drawings, and it looks like it's a lot of sketchbook stuff. When it came to the drawings, the early drawings,
Yeah.
one of the reasons I picked this one, I think it didn't matter whichever I picked. I just wanted to point out, or for me, it seemed very interesting to see writing next to a sketch. When I first started like doing art, I didn't think that writing had anything to do with what making art is, but I think it kind of helps when it comes to being an artist. Writing down your ideas, like, or writing down whatever's happening that day, it kind of collides with your art,
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I do like notes, or like I did this because I feel this way, so I drew this. Or sometimes I'm just writing to write, to like release some sort of something, and it's the same way I feel when I draw or paint or do anything. So I'm trying to release something.
And that's what people were talking about in 2020 when COVID hit and everyone's had to go back from working from home, or maybe they were out of jobs. Us being humans, when we try to find happiness, and you go back to the things you like to do, so you start seeing a lot of small businesses launch that people are like, they would do art or maybe pottery or whatever their thing was, creating, and they're like, wow, I really find this enjoyable, and I'd rather take that risk on me. I mean, I'm locked down at home anyways. What more can I possibly lose, right? The extended rent, the extended like forgiveness on loans and stuff. So might as well give something a shot. Again, keep in mind, people, that like we said earlier, Van Gogh was not an artist officially until like the very end, right? So he was working his regular jobs. he was honestly, he was a regular person for the most part for that time, right? So he would write letters to his brother, or he would
Yeah.
write letters to his dad, and he liked to draw, like, give the guy a break. You know,
Mm-hmm.
some guys, they would go to their factory job and maybe in the afternoon go to the pub and drink a
Yeah, yeah,
beer or
yeah.
something. Like his thing was go to work, not be happy,
Mm-hmm.
go home, and what did he make him happy? Draw.
Drawing, painting. That's I feel like a lot of what we go through. And so seeing this, I think, should give helpful, like, ideas or, like, just reassurance, I guess, for artists. Like, even, like, we're all in the same boat. Like, we all just sketch. We all just think of ideas. We all just write them down. Or sometimes just write nonsense, and sometimes some good comes out of it and some doesn't.
You know what's interesting to think about? Again, like kind of like I said, he was just your average guy, right? And I think, but because art back then, the only real place to consume it was to go to art galleries or art shows or like an art
The
dealer,
newspaper, maybe.
right? I feel like you never felt discouraged because your stuff didn't feel top tier, right? But nowadays, you get on Instagram or Pinterest,
It's
and you see
so
stuff. Some people
accessible,
are like
yeah.
are experts at photorealism. That was just a different skill set on its own.
Yeah.
That maybe you're not a photorealist, but when you try to draw something, you're like, dang, this person has better concept of
It's
light
okay.
and dark.
Yeah.
But just I'm sure you probably have felt that, right? Where you're
Yeah.
you're like, am I
know
even good?
there's all the time. I feel like, but you, in some persons, you have to move on from it and just create to create because it's that fulfilling for you. And if it isn't, maybe there is something else, and maybe this is not it.
Yeah. So
If you
anyways,
feel like there's too much pressure,
yeah. If Van Gogh could do it, you could do it too. Maybe.
I feel like anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody
I mean,
can
I
do
think
it.
this slideshow that we put up so far kind of does represent that.
Yeah. And one of the other next ones is also another drawing. And I really like this. It's so sketchy. It's a wrong way to describe it, but it feels like it's moving.
I legit have sketches from like, I don't have them, but I feel like back in middle school and on your agenda or your journal when you're bored in class, I swear to God, I've done these sketches too. You're just kind of
You're just sketching. And I love it. It's only like 1 to 2 colors. It looks like red and blue, like a little bit of the purple is coming out of there.
Oh, okay.
But it's just, I like how it feels like it's moving. And it's not perfect, but I could tell where he was at. He was like at a park where everybody's sitting, chatting around, and he was like, let me just sketch this up real quick.
I do get that feeling now that you really kind of break it down. Because if you would just asked me right off the bat, I would have been like, okay, I see like a scribbles. But like to actually break down, if you sit down and really, I think I challenge people who are like me, that you're like, what's so special? Give it, like, stare at it for maybe a minute, and it may not hit you or may hit you later, but it'll hit you eventually. What this is,
or like why a park, right? Well, it's like, it's just a moment in time, like the same way we capture with photographs. This is just with drawing. And I tried to paint live while like people are like walking behind you or on a bike or something. It's so stressful because you're so self-conscious of like everything.
Am I in your way?
Yeah. Or like am I in your way? Or please don't look at my stuff, it's like barely starting, but seeing like just a sketch of him at the park is just kind of like nice.
I guess it's another interesting to know that this is, I think, the first one that you pull up that, well, I guess technically your second one that isn't oil on canvas. Because I think when you think of painters, you probably think of what that exact same thing.
It's just painting.
Yeah, but goes to show like two of Jackie's selections have not been traditional oil on canvas.
I like seeing as an artist, right? I like to see every little thing. Like from when you start to like now, like seeing my little cousins grow up. One of them really likes to draw, and like seeing like her sketches from when she was little and then like till now that she's a little bit older, it's like insane the progress that she's done and the things that she thinks about when drawing. Like before it was just like doodles here and there, but now they're like fully fledged ideas, right? And so I feel like it just shows like this is just a sketch, but imagine his paintings, right? Like, his paintings are so beautiful.
Yeah, I think he's the one exception where okay. So going into it, I had seen a TikTok trend, where it was like talking about schizophrenics, and when they checked into like a hospital, and they would sign their name, and it would get progressively worse and worse. This is literally 2 years before he committed suicide, but I don't get that feeling of craziness off of this one. Whereas you see other artists, and I wish I had the example off the top of my head.
We can always bring it on
Bring it
another
up
video.
on another podcast, but maybe we'll talk about that further. But you could definitely sometimes see the progression of like, okay, yeah, he's
Of
going
the
insane.
difference, yeah, of the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll move on to the next one.
This looks like
Yellow.
a Jackie. This looks like Jackie.
Okay, I picked this one. It's just so yellow and I love it. I don't know if it's the same house from the one that you
Oh, the
had
yellow
done,
house.
but it says not. It says exterior of the restaurant in Asnieres. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but this was a year before. Or 3 years before, right?
Yeah.
And this is oil on canvas. And I love... Do you see, like, those white...
Mm-hmm.
Like...
Those are the brushes?
Just, like... Yeah, I love stuff like that. It looks like oil pastels, but it's not. It's oil. It's, like, oil paint.
Yeah, it's definitely not something, like, if I was an artist, world famous, I guess then he didn't know he was, but I don't think I would have painted this. But it's so cool that someone captured something like
I
this.
love paintings like this.
But also, this doesn't, crazy enough, you see something like this, you wouldn't assume that this is 1887. This could very well be like 2024. Like, yeah, maybe those window shutters look kind of dated, but kind of just shows like plants aren't, you can't really date them. Like, it looks modern, right? Like you at least have a pavimento. You also have some sort of house or some sort of thing,
Yeah.
right? And it's obviously set up to look aesthetic or look some sort of way. So I think in a way, like, it's almost timeless.
Mm-hmm. But I really like it. I love the colors. I don't know. I enjoy looking at his pieces, and I think one of the reasons I really like his is just it looks, but it feels so nice to look at. Like, my eyes just go everywhere. Like, I can stare at this. I don't know how big this is. It says it on the website, by the way. If you ever want to know anything about the information, this is called the exterior of a restaurant in Asnieres. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I really like it. I really enjoy it. I really wonder what his process is, too. Like, how does he go about background, foreground? Like, what starts and how does he end?
That's the $1 million question: is why, how, and you'll never get that.
No.
At least nowadays, like with the modern artists, they can do podcasts. They go on shows. Like, for example, one of the things that kind of blew me away is when we did at St. Ed's, they would bring in an artist and they would do like a week-long showcase or exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
They have that first show where they talk about each piece, and so like we had one African American lady, and she did like a bunch of paintings from where she was from like North Carolina or whatever, and you could go into, and she was like, I drew this because this reminded me of my town, and this is what it looked like to me from my eyes, and it was like I chose to do this painting on this fabric because the fabric symbolizes something we used to do with my grandma or whatever.
It's very specific sometimes.
You got a lot
Sometimes
more
it's
detail.
not, yeah. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just.
And I see you moved on to the next. I feel like this is another classic Jackie painting.
What's it called?
Sprig of flowering almond in glass. I didn't even know what this almond tree looked like or whatever.
I know it's funny how you were saying how you don't like
Still life.
still lifes, but I love them.
So tell the chat for they who might not know what a still life is.
A still life is like what it sounds like. It's an item that is still, and you paint it as you look at it, right there and then. And what I really like about this painting, I love everything about it. But then again, he is my favorite, so it's kind of hard. So you see how the table, what we perceive as a table, it has all these colors. It has yellow, white, the blue, the green. Like, we know a table doesn't have all those colors. Like, this table is just white. But when I'm like, oh, what do you see in the table? And you're like, oh, white. And I'm
That's what I
like,
see.
well, I see blue, purples, reds,
She
yellows.
lying.
And then I draw it like I drew, because you know how I was sketching like the watermelon. You're like, why are you using yellow for watermelon?
Yeah.
It's because I see yellow in it. You may not see yellow, but this still looks like a watermelon once I finish.
I think one time you told me that the beauty of still life, kind of like a photograph. You catch something in that light or whatever, in that view of your eyes.
Yeah.
I guess, and then you capture it forever, like whether that plant died, whether that water evaporated in the future, or whether that glass shattered because of bombings or whatever, you know.
Yeah. It's the same thing like landscapes, portraits. Like everything really is just a moment for this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes you feel something when you look at something that you decide to draw it. And or you just like the way it looks. Aesthetically, we like certain things. We choose a certain person for a certain look. We look at certain things because we like looking at them. We have favorite colors for a reason. You know, it's just aesthetic, and aesthetically, I love all his paintings and his drawings. I think they're so much fun.
Yep. And again, this is 1888, literally 2 years before his suicide.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like you could have drawn this. Not me, you.
Not perfect. So now we're moving on to what we both picked.
Okay.
And what we both picked was one of his portraits, which was the one where we started.
Okay, so 3 years before his death, he has a lot of self-portraits.
He does. I have only done one self-portrait of myself so far.
He's also, in a weird way, average looking, but also at the same time, different. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like, you see him.
You know what it is.
Yeah, but
you see one of his paintings, you're like, yeah, that's Van Gogh.
Yes, but at the same time, like, he doesn't look crazy. Like, when people, it's like, I don't remember. Again, coming back to that exact thing. I don't remember who it was, whether it's Salvador Dali or someone, Picasso or someone else. They draw themselves and they saw themselves kind of crazy. I think it was probably Picasso or something, but they would draw themselves kind of crazy looking, right? This is just okay. Another thing too is what drew me is like, again, it's one of those things where I feel like if I drew myself with like a crayon, again, this is oil on canvas, not even crayons.
It's oil on canvas, but look at it. It doesn't look like oil. Have you seen oil paintings? They look perfect.
Oh yeah.
Like, people can draw with oil paintings and make it look like a photograph. While look at him, like, look at his work. It looks like it's an oil pastel.
Yeah, I thought legit it was a crayons, and I was like, this is one of those. Again, I think this is one of those top 10 paintings of his of all time.
And you can see his style through this. And this was like in 1887, while the other paintings are like in 1888, like a year.
Also, essentially, like, in today's terms, it's a selfie, right? But can you really say there's like a really like selfie that will transcend time? Like, I don't know, right?
Probably not, right? Not like this.
Yeah, like, for example, right? And again, this
maybe
is coming
a collage selfie.
This is coming from someone who doesn't know art. I would say the top 3 like self-portraits of all time. I think like probably like, you know, somewhere. And again, I'm not gonna rank them in like who's number 1, 2, or 3, but the top. I think when I think of self-portrait paintings of all time, definitely any of his, right? Any of Van Gogh's. I was gonna say actually, yeah, maybe Picasso. Oh no, actually no.
Because these are strange.
I remember now. What I was gonna say. So I was gonna say it was Van Gogh.
Uh-huh.
Picasso because it's strange, but I still wouldn't call it top 3.
Okay.
I'll call it like maybe top 10 or top 5.
Okay.
The Mona Lisa, because like everybody knows, and it's essentially a self-portrait.
But that's not a self-portrait.
It's just a portrait.
It's just a portrait.
Okay.
It's not a self-portrait because it's not the artist.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So really referring to a selfie. Okay, and then the Frida Kahlo one.
Okay, yeah, Frida Kahlo, yeah.
Like when you think of like top self-portraits.
But I wouldn't think Mona Lisa is self.
Okay, well, in that case, then throw Picasso on there.
Yeah.
Like imagine drawing pretty much your selfie or taking a picture of your selfie, and that transcends time, and like it's been, you know, these are locked in a safe or displayed under strict security, you know, and this is just Do you
I
really?
don't think they would ever. I don't like. I've made several self portraits. Doubt they'll ever
And
get to this
hot
point.
take. I don't think I think you said you don't like the Frida Kahlo self portraits, or
Not okay. Not that I don't like. She obviously knows what she's doing when
Uh-huh.
it comes to portraits or when painting and everything. Is it one of my favorites? Not really. I mean,
Do you think there's value in drawing self portraits?
yeah.
I mean, obviously to capture who the artist is, but like, is it cheating? Is it cheap?
No, in a sense, when we're doing self portraits, it's really to practice. I mean, I feel like whenever we're making anything, even if it's a painting and you finalize it, it was still just a practice of your skill.
I think I do art when you say it like that. Whenever I do like a Chromebook, I fix a Chromebook and I do a screen, or I work on the big
Oh my
laptops
god!
and I change something in there that was really hard to change, and I'm like, this is art.
I mean, in a sense, it's your art. But no, I like self portraits. Do I like doing them?
Mhm.
It's difficult, but it's also nice because, like, let's say I wanted to practice somebody's just drawing people. Having somebody to draw in front of me is hard because you have to move. You can't be still, right? You have to go to the bathroom or something like that. When it comes
yeah.
to doing myself, like, I'm there and I know how long I'm gonna be there for.
Yep.
And so you're basically just staring at a mirror and like just drawing everything.
When I think of portraits, I think of how hard it is for, and maybe not because you can over exaggerate, but the people who do those caricatures, like you said, down at Disney, and then they draw you
And
like funky or
But they do
whatever.
it so fast.
It goes so fast.
But it's the practice. They've done it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes easy to them. But I really like this. I love the colors. Compared to the other ones that he has, this one feels very light, very bright. Like, the background's white.
Mm-hmm.
His shirt is like this turquoise color. And the hat's yellow.
I think also Van Gogh doesn't get enough credit for being from the Netherlands, being Dutch. Because I don't know why I always thought he was Italian or French. Because, when you think of art, the art scene,
Italy.
you probably think Italy and France because that's where like the hubs. And I mean, to be fair, that's where he was too because of it, right? So it adds up. But I feel like he doesn't get enough credit from being from.
You know what I just noticed?
That he's a ginger. Yeah, me too.
Okay, well, no. Not that. I did not notice that. What I noticed was where the pipe is,
Mm-hmm.
the smoke is the blue of his shirt.
Oh snap!
I just noticed that.
Again, this is why I told y'all look at it for like more than 10, like
yeah,
a minute.
you need to stare at it.
You need to stare at it. I didn't even catch that.
There's things or artists do on purpose. Like, they use certain colors on purpose.
He looks a little Spaniardy because of the hat. It looks like a sombrero. Well, obviously, maybe it is. Maybe he was on. Okay,
I feel like he's outside.
well, obviously he's outside, and when I was reading about him, he would go on long walks or like just be out in the countryside, just looking.
That sounds like so much fun. You see, I think me and him could have been best friends.
I think of a funny line from The Office where Pam and Toby and Oscar, they're doing the Finer Things Club, and they're doing a review about this book, and they're like, oh, what did it to be with George Emerson on the French countryside overlooking the whatever,
Yeah.
the Baltic Sea or whatever. And I was thinking of I was almost at Picasso.
Van Gogh.
Of Van Gogh just being on the countryside, just wondering. Because I feel like people often say, like, oh, I wish I was in Europe. And you know what? I think that's also what I like about Van Gogh and his you know, it's funny, we put zero, like I think we did like maybe one landscape. We didn't really showcase his like actual landscapes, but when I think of like Italian or French countryside,
His
like
landscape
rural,
come to mind.
come to mind. Like that's what I picture. Obviously, it probably looks way different now, and obviously more cities and more buildings and stuff and more roads, so it's maybe not as natural. I feel like if I were to get lost in France and walk around, that's what I would hope to see, but it's probably not the case because everything's so industrialized, agriculture and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
Just a simpler time.
I don't know. I enjoy his simplicity in all his like paintings. They don't look simple. They look simple, but they're not simple.
Yes, yeah. It's probably easier to critique and judge than it is to actually produce.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
But because again, this is one of those where I saw it and I was like, okay, I can draw 70% of this. Like I could draw that.
You keep saying that, and then I'm gonna test you one of these videos. Test you to like do something like that, like make a self portrait, and you're gonna see it's not as easy.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it's not easy at all. But I would suggest to anybody out there as well that if you are interested, just do it. Go for it. Grab colored pencils, grab paper, and then just try to do a self portrait of yourself. It is not easy, but it will be fun. And then take pictures. And
I
then
can't
post
even
them.
draw, so.
I mean, it's okay. Just doodle. I can't even doodle.
Do the classic. I don't know, for those of you relevant, probably in the chat, the S. The South Side.
With the 3 lines, the 6 lines.
The 6 lines, and you just do the crossover.
But we do have more things planned. I think we're nearing the end. This is the last slide.
Oh, this was the last slide? Okay. Yeah, just to wrap up, I think, again, Van Gogh didn't get famous until after the fact. And, I mean, I guess, I don't know, like, I'd be sad to know that, or I don't know if he, like, is happy that, maybe it's so weird, like, do you think he would have rather be famous and be aware of it, or just the way it was? Because maybe it would have changed him, right? If he became famous and rich, maybe it would alter his taste or his thing, right? Because, like, oftentimes people talk about people who sell out, like, on YouTube, right? Like, their content was amazing, and then they sell out, and then it, like, loses relatability and stuff like that.
I think it's just time changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you either adapt to it or, like, you don't. But it's... At the end, sadly, it didn't matter, right? He ended his life.
Yeah.
But we got really cool things to capture what he was or who he was.
Yeah. And in a way, it was a long time ago, and at the same time, not too long ago, where you don't, like, historians know a little bit, but then again, it was not everything was captured, so there was still, like, hypothesis. Another fact for people out there: he never got married, he never had kids. The closest thing he got to kids was living with his brother, and I think actually one time they took in, like, a prostitute who had a kid to live with them, and that's the closest he got to, like, raising a kid, kinda. Again, there wasn't that much info on that portion of his life. It wasn't his kid or nothing like that. But yeah, just sort of life to, if you find support, like, again, none of this would have been possible without his brother being nice enough to, like,
family members being there to support.
But also, like, it also means, like, he's had to travel, because I think he would have loved to stay in Paris, I think is where he liked and ended up being when I was reading, but he had to move around because of his brother. And since his brother was pretty much paying him or sponsoring him to live and draw, it's like, well, kind of have to go where the money is.
Yeah.
So I know, like, sometimes to be an artist, it's tough. I feel like you would have to go somewhere where there's some sort of an art scene. So if you're not, you have to leave. Yeah. And adapt and live a very frugal life.
And it's still like that, right? You have to be in the city and stuff like that. But I feel like if you're out there, support any people that you know are artists, or anybody that has an idea. Like, we're all just trying to live our best life.
Also, just want to say for the people out there who might be like me, where, like, I don't like art or it's not my thing, I also, like, challenge you to go and really look around it. If you actually are patient with it, you'll find something. You'll find something
you like. There's a lot of people with a lot of different creative
I found, like,
endeavors.
Stickers and badges that I liked. Like, a lot of stuff, maybe not my type of thing, right? I don't know, like, or maybe there's, and because it's more modern times, there's different ideologies out there that you might not align with and stuff like that. But again, just know that this is someone's life, someone's work. Don't diminish them because it's not your thing, you know. And if there's 0 things that you don't like, I think it's still nice that if you go out there and support it and look at it, right? I think you could speak more on this, but it was kind of nice when people came up to you. I feel like,
and just strike a conversation
and just talked, and they're like, "We really like your stuff."
Yeah. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to do anything. As long as you're like, "Hey, I really like your things." It gives us, like, a sense of, what is it, like, just hope, I guess, is the best word. Like, to just keep going.
I assume, like, in an ideal world, like, you would want both, like, people buying stuff and I mean, but at the same time, like,
we understand.
Yeah, like, it's also not, kind of times because also you don't know what that person's going through.
We love to make just to make, honestly. I love, at least for me,
Really?
I love to make.
Really, it sounds like selling's really just the secondary thing.
The second,
Cause
the second thing I think of, but making is the first thing I always think of. It's like, what is gonna be the next thing I make, and why? It's just so much fun.
Yeah, and I think that's the objective of this podcast is just to
Be
to have a space where people can come listen and talk about just artistic things, just to give some people like a sneak peek of again, this is not in any particular order, but we have other stuff lined up like
because I'm a graphic designer, branding stuff, product stuff. We're thinking about like getting products and seeing what pulls our eye and what doesn't. Him as a male and me as a female, and
because all that's a variable for sure.
Yes, when you look at things, you're looking at them for like specific reason, or something catches your eye because of something. Yeah,
or even like stuff like we're also going to talk about probably in the future the World Cup logo changing. So maybe we'll talk about logos and other stuff.
Football logos or football. Like what is it? The teams, the logos and stuff.
Oh yeah, I had an idea to do.
We had an idea.
Logo review for Jackie and try to guess.
I don't know anything about football, but I'm here for support.
She knows a little bit more now because of me, but we'll see. We'll see. So anyways, you guys, we really appreciate your support. Stay tuned again. This will be uploaded later as an actual YouTube video. So if you're here post live stream, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching to this point.
If you stayed to the end, thank you for supporting.
Drop down a comment.
Yeah, subscribe, all the nice things.
Before we end, another last fact, and I don't know how we forgot to, how I forgot to bring this up. Okay. Van Gogh. Let's talk about his ear cutting situation. I think, and I've always thought this too. You after doing the research or first going into it, I was like, oh, Van Gogh's a crazy guy who cut off his ear. And we did research and we described him as a normal guy. For the most part, he was a normal guy except for his like mental illness towards the end, and again, it was unconfirmed whether it was schizophrenia or something else, right? But the story behind the ear cutting thing is he actually had a best friend. I think they call him Gaga, but his name was like something Gagwin or Gagawin or something like this, but short Gaga. Okay. And they got into like a fight, and again, like with swords and stuff. And again, this is kind of like a mental break that he had, and like I guess he got nicked part of the earlobe, and he's just like they were kind of both embarrassed about it. I think afterward, again, the storyline is kind of different because it varies between historian and historian, but for the most part, that they agree that they got into a fight, right? And then he got a little cut on his earlobe, so he just cut the rest of it off.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's still kind of crazy.
You don't have to do that.
But when you hear the words and when they say, "Oh, he cut his ear off," you probably assume it's like the whole like ear like cartilage and like all the actual outer ear portion. No, it was just
the
bottom of his earlobe, a piece of his earlobe.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I see. So this is like half off, and he's like, "I'm not gonna have it like just hanging,
dangling or whatever."
So he just cut the piece off.
Yeah. So, anyways, there's a band out there in Spanish, Oreja de Van Gogh. I legit think of that every time.
And this is how we end it.
Don't cut your ear off. Please get checked for mental health if you have issues.
Oh no.